Greetings travellers, it's NatMosixO here again. I wasn't initially going to do a video on the whole Atheism Plus issue because, quite frankly, I've been trying to stay out of it. I've been trying to kind of minimise the amount of serious videos, so to speak, I've been getting involved in because just, the amount of stress, really. However, seeing as I've not really made a video on the channel this month, or the past month, rather, I thought I would finally step into the arena and give perhaps my 2 cents on the Atheism Plus issue, because I feel quite strongly about the necessity of labels while many people argue against labels. I'm the kind of person who sees labels as purely descriptive measures to identify and put a name to characteristics which explain bits about ourselves. I might call myself a naturist because I enjoy nude recreation, but also because I believe that it can create and help promote a positive body image, and it's just something generally fun. I might call myself a metalhead because, as you can see by the post in my background, I am someone who enjoys heavy metal music. There may always be negative connotations that are attached to any particular label that we give ourselves. It's nigh impossible to completely rid ourselves of all these negative stigma that are put on these labels, which is, I think, it's a silly idea to avoid it. There are many who have sought in the past to avoid the term atheist because of all the negative connotations. I personally call myself a secular humanist, but because that best describes the worldview on religion that I have. I believe that humans are capable of good moral actions autonomously from any supernatural force, and that supernatural, whether religion or spirituality, is not necessary for a positive and happy or fulfilling life. That's not to say that, like anti-theism might suggest, that's not to suggest that it absolutely has to exclude the religious from having a happy or fulfilled life. Just saying that it's not necessary. Religion in itself may not be damaging to a person. It's more exactly how they use it, and the mindset and their ability to critically think. So how does this relate to Atheism Plus? Well, to the best of my understanding, Atheism Plus is a new term that's recently been invented by a woman on Free Thought Blogs. I just need to look up her name. By Jen McCreek. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but whatever. And the idea is that it's atheism plus a specific social issue that the person is talking about. So the video or blog or whatever may be how atheism or one's lack of belief in a religion influences their view on these social issues. So it may be atheism plus feminism, it may be atheism plus gay rights, it may be atheism plus humanism, and so on and so forth. The main criticism seems to be that this is a divisive term that is meant to put boundaries within the atheist community and divide us up even further when we need to be a unified force against religion. I think this is a bit of a misconception, but I will get to that in a minute. But first, what I want to say is I understand the notion. I understand what they're getting at when they are using this Atheism Plus term. I do not believe for a second that they are trying to be divisive in any way, shape or form. They are not trying to split apart anyone. On the contrary, what they are trying to do is be specific in their label. They are talking specifically giving a better defined term to how their atheism relates to these particular social issues. So it's essentially, to my understanding, another way of saying I am an atheist and I am a feminist. I am an atheist and I am in favour of gay rights. I am an atheist and I am liberal, conservative, whatever. Now the thing is, we're being divided. I think that this whole being divided threat, which many people propagate, seems to be a bit of a misconception, because We as human beings are not going to agree on everything. I'm willing to bet that most of my viewers are not nudists or naturists, whichever term you prefer. Most of them will be quote-unquote textiles, as I might see it. Many might not be heavy metal fans, may not be into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, or fantasy literature, or so on and so forth. My point is that it's impossible to be completely unified on the issue, and I do not think that disagreeing on particular issues makes us any more or less strong against what the harm we see religion does. Now, if we go into something like giving money to Chick-fil-A because we're supporting free speech or we just want to piss people off, then you can make an argument that they are running counter to our efforts, because then you are actively supporting the opposition, which is oppressing the rights of homosexuals and many LGBT individuals. However, I think that the notion that you are either with us or against us is a complete false dichotomy. Just because you are not with us on every single issue does not mean that you are automatically against us or working contrary to our efforts. It's a similar thing with the whole notion of religious tolerance. I tolerate tolerable people like Rational Roundtable and many other reasonable, tolerable Christians who are often in favour of all the same equal rights and separation of church and state that we are. Not every single person in this world who does not share a religious belief or has no religion whatsoever is going to be spending their free time fighting every bit of social injustice that religion may bring to countries like the US. We cannot physically give all our time and effort, which is incredibly limited. There are only 24 hours in the day, and we have our own lives to lead. This is why I don't make as many videos as I might have used to, 2 years ago or so. Because I feel that there are more important things for me to do than to be constantly stressing over things I don't really have much power over. I will still very much support skepticism. I will support feminism. I will support LGBT rights. But I can't always give my full attention to it. And suggest that just because I am not always supporting it doesn't mean I'm automatically against it. And so that's a bit in favour of the atheism plus thing. However, I will say a main thing against it is I have to wonder why it's necessary. Why do we have to bring lack of belief in a God into the matter? Why can't we just call ourselves feminists or skeptics or secular humanists? Why does it have to specifically be about atheism relating to those issues? Why do we need to be this specific? If there's one thing I have come to learn over the past few years is how obsessed many our Western cultures often are with specifics. This kind of relates to my earlier point that unless you so specifically pinpoint describe that you are in favour and supportive of a proposition, idea or movement, then people naturally assume that you are against it just because you didn't particularly specify otherwise. The article from The Guardian that I have recently just read shows quite how heated we can get over the most specific of terms, and really all this comes down to is an over-obsession with specifics. When one person thinks a label means one thing and another person sees it as another thing, we bicker and argue over that, when really this shouldn't really be an issue at all. All we are really doing is saying exactly the same thing, just with more words on it. We are still having the same viewpoints on feminism, LGBT rights, and so on and so forth. We are just only now saying that we are atheists, and therefore we are also supportive of this. It is quickly becoming a case of the Judeans People's Front versus the People's Front of Judea, except your Popular Front because he's over there. But seriously, I find this whole argument in the end to be pretty ridiculous. I feel that we should be talking and discussing more on the points of what is added onto the atheism plus, like humanism, feminism, LGBT rights, etc., and discuss those in a civilized manner, rather than bickering over the precise naming of a particular term.